Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. We are go, go, go. Monza. Italiana. Buongiorno. Ciao. Virtual safety car already deployed before practice even gets underway. Welcome everyone. How's it going? Hope you're well. Hope your week has treated you well. And well, we already have a virtual safety car deployed and a double yellow at the start of practice. What's occurring here, ladies and gentlemen? I'm not entirely sure what the reason for this is. Why is my chat box upside down? Make it make sense. Why do we already have virtual safety car? I'm trying to figure out exactly what the reason for this is. Maybe they're testing it at the start of the session rather than at the end. But I'm looking at TV coverage and there doesn't seem to be any reason for this. Oh, there we go. Virtual safety car ending. So yeah, I think they were just testing it at the start of the session. Never seen that before. They normally do it at the end. But welcome everyone. Hope you're well. Hope the day, yes, has been treating you well, guys. So the shirt is back. Look, we proved last week at Zandvoort that it's not the shirt's fault. We proved it. So it's staying on every single session this weekend. Yes, you heard that correctly. Every single session this weekend. So that is the plan. I'm trying to bring some luck. Early morning to Jarl Teco. Good to see you, mate. Welcome, welcome. Yes, so if you're just tuning in, you're wondering, where is Oscar Piastri? Well, Oscar Piastri is not participating in this FP1 session. As is so often the case at Monza, a lot of the teams utilise this session, this FP1 session, for their rookies. And, well, Alex Dunn is part of it. Of course, F2 driver, very highly rated F2 driver, is in the seat of Oscar Piastri. So, yeah, we'll see how he fares. But you'll notice there's a couple of little additions. Afternoon, Andy. There's a couple of little additions. We've had an update through Multiviewer. And I have played around with colours and things like this. And we have the addition of course, a colourful pit lane, as you can see there, highlighted in purple. And you can see that these red dots are your DRS DRS zones, basically. Detection zones, sorry. That's where the detection zones are for the DRS. Now, I can add the DRS lines if you want me to, but they're a bit bulky. That's my only problem, so. Is it possible to increase my on-track icons a little bit? I can. Let me see. Hang on. I can do some of that. I am very well, Matthew. Good to see you, mate. Why is the... Hang on a second. Let's change this to that. And then let's do that with Twitch. Hopefully that fares better. T-shirt blue. No, I didn't get the blue version. Didn't get it. Only got the white version. Oh my goodness. Why is that so... Let's do that and see if that's better. There we go. That's a bit better, isn't it? Like that. Cool. The T-shirt, the Claire or Hamilton crash. Hopefully neither. Oh, evening, Murray. Good to see you. Yes, welcome everyone. Welcome. Let me just alter something here. Hang on. That I was dealing with. So if we have a look at live timing. Is that better? Or maybe let's move that down one. I feel like it's a bit too big. There we go. I do have, so you see these red dots? They are DRS detection zones. I can also put the DRS on if you want me to, but I can't make it any smaller. So that's where the DRS is. Let me know if you want that to be on there or not. It's up to you. Hey Steve-O, just made it back in time and made yourself a cup of tea. You've just sat down, thank the Lord. Lovely, lovely. Happy days, eh? Happy days. Who wants to take the bet now that the shirt will curse Ferrari? We've proven this, Jarvis, but the shirt is not the problem. The shirt is not the problem. So, you want it clean. Keep it or not? I don't know. I feel like if I could produce these, I personally like it clean. I think it's a bit too much. I don't know. I make the executive decision, guys, here. As Hamilton's going fast, it's in Sector 1 and Sector 2. Be prepared to stop the count, ladies and gentlemen, as he comes across the finish line here. And Hamilton is top. And the Tifosi go wild. Stop the count. Stop the count. There we go. Yeah, I think leave it as this. So, yes. A couple of just 2 additions, really, basically, to the track map is that I've changed the pit lane colour to purple there so that you guys can identify it differently. Hopefully more clearer as well. And we just have 2 red dots there for the DRS detection zones. So those are important, I believe, because we're always talking about, we generally know where the DRS zones are, but we don't know where those detection zones are. Where do those drivers need to be within 1 second of each other? So, yeah, that's what we've got at the moment. Oh, my goodness. Charles Leclerc's going purple first and second. This is purely just to satisfy the needs of the Tifosi. They need something to cheer about, as Lando Norris has gone purple in the first sector. Hurry up, Charles. Hurry. Get that purple last sector and make it a 1-2 for Ferrari so that we at least see at one time throughout this weekend a Ferrari 1-2, because it may be the only time we see it, as he does. It's a 1-2 for Ferrari. Leclerc first, Hamilton second, and yes, for how long? Probably not long, as Norris is going fastest in the first and second sector there, as you can see, but that's given something for the Tifosi to cheer about, eh? As Norris is probably going to smash that time by absolute seconds right now. 4 seconds slower than last year's pole. Yeah, exactly. Not very quick at the moment, is it? So, Friday off work. No, I'm still working, Jordan. I am still working. I am working from home today, but I am on my lunch break. So, yes, I am not... I don't get the day off, unfortunately. Norris, there we go, 21.5. So, it was brief. It was brief, but we had at least 10 seconds of fun there, guys, as Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc fans or Tifosi fans. So it's my first Monza race as a Tifosi. God, the Ferrari looks good. I haven't seen it on the TV coverage yet. I've seen the concept images. I don't know. I still feel it was a bit half-hearted of a livery, to be honest with you. But I will check it out on track in a second. So, half a second. Yeah, half a second. There's Max. So, yeah, going to be very interesting here. Apologies I didn't get a very interesting weekend. So, apologies I didn't get around to be able to doing a preview video for you all. I just, been too busy. Oh, track surface slippery in Sector 8. I imagine that's probably gravel. We will have maybe a few stoppages at times for gravel. Remember, there's no runoff pretty much here at Monza. Other than maybe like turn 1. Did they add gravel back to Parabolica, which is turn 11? I think they did. It was just a concrete runoff for quite some time, as Albon's gone fastest there at 21.4. But as we said, as someone pointed out in the chat, we are 4 seconds slower still than pole position, or considerably slower than what pole position was. So FP1 is not the representative session. It is always FP2 later on in the afternoon. As Hamilton's gone quicker again. But yes, what's going to be very intriguing here is that, as I mentioned on the Missed Apex podcast preview, which I did get time to do, is that McLaren, as I don't know if any of you have seen the shots or the photographs of the rear wings. This is a setup. This is a track, of course, where the setup is always very important. It's normally a more lower downforce dependent setup. The lowest that you run all year is there's not many corners. There's only really one high downforce section on this track, which is turn 11. That's really where the rear wing, or turn 11, turn 6 and turn 7 as well, but That's really where the car is most loaded, is through turn 11. And that's why we've seen many incidents there in the past because of the nature of not having enough downforce through that corner and tyres starting to fall off a little bit. As Hamilton only stays P5 there. I think he got held up in traffic in the last couple of corners. But Mercedes, Ferrari and Red Bull are running very trimmed rear wings, very skinny rear wings, whereas McLaren are running a little bit more downforce, it seems. Now, whether they will change that throughout the duration of this weekend, we will see. But their advantage, McLaren, has always been in the corners. But that's well and good. They may be able to run that more downforce-dependent setup in qualifying and secure pole position. But when it comes to defending from those behind, especially at the start of the race, they could be very susceptible to being overtaken, especially with DRS now only being activated after one lap and not two. So it's going to be intriguing. It's going to be an intriguing setup for this weekend. You hope the shirt brings good luck for Sundays? I hope so. Paul Aaron as well. Yep, he's also in there in place of Colapinto, which is interesting. Ferrari all refinement all week just to put another mid-arse performance in the race as usual. I know. Did you see the crowds? Unbelievable. You don't get that at many other places, do you? No other team. It's a religion out there. It truly is a religion. And if Ferrari wins Monza, all is forgiven. Well, remember, I'm not saying it's going to happen this year, but if you remember last year, Ferrari weren't really that good up until Monza. Monza was where they brought an update package and then they were challenging McLaren at every race circuit for the remainder of the season and nearly snatched away the Constructors' Championship. So I don't think that's going to happen this season because, as we know, 2026, there's no real more updates here. But we do know that Ferrari always focus a lot of time and attention around this race. It's where they want to win most, more so than Monaco, because it is their home track. Will they be able to do it? I don't know. Might need some shenanigans. Black and white flag for Hadjar, failing to follow race director's instructions, escape road instructions. What did he do there then? He clearly did something dodge, going down maybe into turn one. Maybe he didn't take to the escape road there. Don't throw it away now, Hadjar, after your podium last time around. Verstappen, though, I think Verstappen and Connor in the Discord, Connor Paula, if you are listening, Connor, thank you. This is the first time this regulation set where Red Bull have really brought a proper low downforce package. They have always kind of had the advantage when it comes to this circuit. Last year, they had a mixed match set up. They took literally like a buzzsaw to their rear wing and it was really funky, looked like the back wing. So they've never really targeted a low downforce package, and this is the first time they have done so. We know that Max is very good on low downforce. We've seen him, of course, snatch some pole positions this year by running a more lower downforce setup compared to that of the McLarens, and maybe we'll see that again here and really put a spanner in the works to the McLaren boys, because Lando will be hoping he can qualify on pole, and someone like Max can put themselves in between him and his teammate. Oscar's not participating in FP1. No, Oscar will be participating in FP2. Alex Dunn is in, the F2 driver is in for FP1. As you can see, they're down in 14th. So, that's normally what we see here is some rookies participate at Monza. We also have Paul Aaron as well, who he's been loaned to, as Verstappen's already stated, tyres are starting to slide a little bit more in general. And that's only 6 laps in. Verstappen is complaining that the tyres are starting to slide already on a lower downforce setup, of course. But Paul Aaron, he has been muted as potentially replacing Colapinto, but we don't think that's going to be the case. He's on loan from Stake F1. They have loaned him out to be a reserve driver for Alpine. So I think he's still technically the reserve driver for Stake F1 as well. So, what is the red dot on the map? Yes, so the red dot is an addition here as Charles Leclerc goes second with a 21.2. The red dot here is the DRS indication zones. basically. So yeah, that red dot is, we know where the DRS zones are. They're down the back straight and down the start-finish straight, and that is where those red dots are. So I could probably remove it, to be honest with you, for this session. It's only really kind of relevant when we get to the race, but I just wanted to see if everything worked okay. How do the teams generally decide which first string driver is replaced in practice? Is it simply alternated? Yes, so I think there's a mandatory there is a mandatory requirement for each team or each seat to give up a certain amount of sessions to a rookie driver. I think it used to be 2, and I think it's now 3 or 4. I think it's 4 actually. So I think it's 4 sessions throughout the year, and it has to be on each side of the garage. So, am I going to add driver radio summaries again? No, not at the moment, Andy. As I said, it's just, it clogs up the stream too much, and it moves too quickly. The problem is it moves too quickly to pick up anything of note, in my personal opinion, and I think it just it clutters the stream. And if there's any radio, I have the radio in my ear, I have the TV coverage in my ear, so if there's any important radio that's relayed, I will tell it to you guys. I think it's 2 a year per car. That's what I think it is, Taco. I think it was increased this year. I think last year or previous years it was 1 per car, but now it's 2. So the red dots are DRS indicators zones, so I can turn them off. So you've got the DRS zones there. I personally don't like this on at the moment because until I can alter the size of these, I don't like them there. But those are DRS zones and those are the DRS indicators. So, but we only really need them. We only really need them for the race on Sunday. So, is there now drama? Williams will be right in the mix there. No, we're still a long way off of the fastest laps that we see. So, oh, hello. Lunchtime, is it? Let me have a look. What was pole lap from last year, guys? We'll be able to find that out. Let's have a look. And we know these cars are quicker. They're the quickest in F1 history, as we've seen many a track record broken this season. So last year, qualifying, pole position was a 1:19.3. So, yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there. We're still some way off of that pace, though. So, yeah, Williams do expect themselves to be strong here. It's always been a strong track for them, but we will see. I think it may be a bit of a struggle for the likes of Aston Martin. I think, as we mentioned, Ferrari, I don't know. I still think they've just got fundamental issues, even at Monza, that will just not allow them to hold it at the front for the whole race. I think the closest competitor is going to be Max to those McLarens. Any comments on Hamilton's penalty? Yeah, so I made comments on this. I think the penalty was justified. I do think, look, he just went, I said it at the time on stream, I saw it, and it was arguably too quick on the TV coverage, which made me raise an eyebrow, and the steward's fault as well. But what I don't agree with is the time it took to dish out that penalty. They had an ample opportunity, ample amount of data, footage to state that penalty, to give that penalty before the race began, but they didn't, which is utterly ridiculous, and it's incompetent, really, to be honest with you. The fact that they've waited. Some will throw conspiracies out there saying they've done it to ensure that Hamilton's race at Monza is effed to an extent before it's even begun, starting five places down. But yeah, my God, if Carlos gets a P3 before Lewis, Ferrari desperation would hit rock bottom. Oh, imagine. Yeah, he lifted, Karen, but he lifted way too late, and it wasn't sufficient. Which is that they acknowledge that he lifted, but it's just too quick. It's way too quick, and especially when you compare it to other drivers, he went in there far quicker than any other driver did. All the other drivers slowed, other than Yuki Tsunoda, but even he slammed on his brakes. They did a comparison earlier on Sky TV, and it's pretty damning, to be honest with you. But it's the timing of the penalty which is just totally wrong. I don't know why they waited so long. It's scandalous, to be honest with you. Any rain this weekend? No, there's a yellow as Aronofsky is off in the second chicane. Aronofsky? What am I saying? Aronofsky. Paul Aaron. It's because of the ARO. I always think Aaron is ARU. Paul Aaron has gone off at the second chicane. Is that a spin from him? He's got going again. Has he just taken the curb too heavily there? Would be my assumption as to what he has done there through turn 4 and turn 5. I wonder if there'll be any notice of there being slippery, as Kimi Antonelli's going quite slowly as well at the moment. Was that just letting Fernando Alonso through, who's on a bit of a quicker lap? Antonelli's going quite slowly, as is Charles Leclerc. So I wonder if there's maybe some large amount of gravel on track there at turn 4 and 5. Interesting. Was it a spin? It's a spin, is it? My TV coverage is on an advert at the moment, on a commercial, so... but yes, going back to the weather, there is no rain forecast this weekend. It's going to be a very, very dry and hot Monza. That wouldn't have been the case if it was last weekend, though. Last weekend, just gone, there was thunderstorms, severe thunderstorms. Very, very poor weather the week before. So, yeah, nice and sunny this weekend, though. He was steaming into the pit lane, but he didn't deserve the 5 grid penalty. He should have had a 10-second penalty in the race. I think, look, they give more severe penalties based upon this health and safety, anything that's in relation to health and safety. But he should have been given that penalty before the race began. Simple as. Ample opportunity, ample time for them to review it. They weren't reviewing anything else prior to the race beginning, you know. Everyone's prepping their cars for the formation lap. They had a good 15 minutes before... no, longer than that. They had a good half an hour. They had a good 30 minutes to dish out a penalty there for that. So it could have been taken. It should have, whatever the penalty was, it should have been given before the race began. However, they said they wanted to receive data from. They wanted to wait for data from the team before they decided to do anything, which is utterly ridiculous. There was enough. As oh yes, Paul Aaron, just watching it, he dipped 2 wheels. So he just forgot how wide his. Yeah, he just forgot how wide his F1 car actually was, and on the entry into the second chicane, he dipped wheels onto the grass. So, yeah, no issue there from him, really. Overall, he's able to get going again, and the car is intact. Any racetracks you would love to see come back? Yeah, Malaysia, Turkey, Hockenheimring, and supposedly Stefano Domenicali has stated that Portugal, Turkey, and Hockenheimring are seeking to get back on the F1 calendar. So he's been very actively talking in the media this week, hasn't he? Talking about shortening the races and changing up the race weekend format again and so forth. And yeah, sign them all up. Sign them up. Give us 27 race weekends if it means that we're going to get Hockenheim. If we're going to get Hockenheim, Turkey, and Portimao back on there. Sign me up. But yes, I'd love to see Malaysia back on there as well. I think a lot of people, the drivers, even also say that they'd like to see Malaysia back on there just because of how it is suitable for modern F1. It's got a wide enough circuit. There's plenty of overtaking opportunities. There's plenty of... yeah, I mean, if you listen to Alex Albon's interview, a very, very good interview from Alex Albon with Matt and Tommy, and he was talking about, they were ranking different racetracks, and he was stating, like Silverstone, people were saying, why is it... They asked him, what is it about Silverstone that it's just so good? And he said that the flow of the track is obviously top tier, but it's the fact of that there's so many different lines that you can take at Silverstone that you can find clean air, so you can find grip in the corners, and that's why you see good racing through Silverstone and certain other circuits as well. And that's what we need. We need wider, especially with this current F1 car, the largest, heaviest we've ever had. Yes, we're heading back towards the direction of smaller cars, but that's why certain circuits have always provided better racing, because the drivers can find the grip, the different levels of grip. They can find that clean air. And that's what Sepang would provide us. So, and Turkey as well, Hockenheimring as well. So, Logan's a pretty solid driver, just behind Oscar, but struggled in the Williams. Yeah, some people would struggle to make the step up to F1. So, how many more bring back refueling? No, Aaron, no. I'm fully against refueling. I am. That always gets it always gets thrown about that would solve the issue, but no, it wouldn't. It would just mean that we have less of an idea of what fuel loads everyone is on. The teams are not going to give us that information, and what it's going to provide is just going to provide more overtakes in the pit lane than it would out on track. It's not. It's not. It adds a variability to it, but it just means it's probably going to provide us less racing out on track. So, and less close racing as well. Indian GP should come back. Yeah, but IndyCar's very, very different to F1. Very different to F1. I prefer races to be as long as possible, more chance for human error, less predictable, more exciting. I think we're at a sweet spot with a 2-hour time limit, to be honest with you. He said something as well that is like, he said about attention span. Like, oh, we need to make it for people who've got like less attention spans because of kids and so forth. And it's like, yeah, but just because that's the wrong kind of terminology at the end of the day, because not everyone is fully focused on watching a sporting event for 90 minutes. It's like a football match. I bet you don't sit there and watch a football match like glued to the screen for 90 minutes. You look away, you go make a drink, you go to the loo, whatever, things like that, and then you come back to it. And it's the same with F1, it's the same with tennis, it's the same with cricket, and I don't think F1 races are too long by any means at all. I agree, Alan. I agree. Do I think F1 is going to go to Argentina? I don't think so. No, unless Franco Colapinto really digs out performances and becomes a stable driver in F1, I don't think we're going to go to Argentina. No. That's the only reason we would go to Argentina is because of Colapinto. So, yeah. But F1 is growing, though. Exactly, Karen. The F1, they keep saying to us that F1 is growing. It's the largest it's ever been. And there's no need to change the Sunday format in particular. Now, if you want to alter practices, if you want to alter the format for the rest of the race weekend on Fridays and Saturdays, okay. But leave Sunday untouched. Leave it alone. It's a format that has worked. If it's not broke, don't fix it. It is a format that has worked for many a year, and there's no need to alter it now. Some of us watch on multi-view and listen to you. Have you ever thought of doing a tutorial on its use? How do I edit the map? I can do, I guess, to an extent. It's just a new function that actually has just been added. So yeah, multi-view is actually very, very accessible. I feel like it's very easy to use. But yeah, I can do that one day. If the racing was exciting, an hour and a half to 2 hours wouldn't seem long. No, but then also it's the same with all sport. Not every single match that you watch is like memorable. Not every single match that you watch is exciting from start to finish. However, I explained this on the Missed Apex podcast, is that races, to me, strategy is a massive element to motorsport. It always has been. And a race is like a film. You have Act 1, which is the start of the race. Then you have Act 2, which is the middle of the race, of course. And the story is progressing. And it's all about the build-up to Act 3, where is the end of the race, where hopefully you have this convergence of the strategies that the teams have been deploying throughout the race converging out on track. And then that's when you start to see the teams with their tyres falling off, with those maybe on the more aggressive strategy, start to catch those and see those overtakes towards the end of the race. That's what a film is like. A film, very few films are action, 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 all substance from start to finish, you know? And let alone sporting events. Not every single football match that you watch, whether it's American football, soccer, baseball, whatever sport it is, not all of them are exciting. You get boring ones. throughout a season, and you have to accept that as human beings. So, why is the pit lane purple? Because I made it purple. And I think it's just a little bit more easier for you to see rather than grey. And it's a colour that I believe none of the teams clash with. I could make it bright green, but that clashes with the Stake F1 cars. When you're trying to find a colour to because I could do sectors, right? So I did the sectors, and then you can change the colours of sectors. But I feel like the colours just clash too much. And it just looks a bit too like, and it's a bit, as you guys have said, we like it clean here. Because I could do this. Don't know, maybe you guys like that, but I just think it's a bit, those are the colours I chose for sectors 1, 2 and 3. Let me know if you think you like that, but I personally like it just clean. You've got the sector times over here anyway, but you let me know. Is that my baby? Yeah, it's my little girl, Vicky. Yeah. She is 1 year old next month, guys. She's 1. What's the date today? 5th. Less than 1 month. She is 1 year old. It has gone absolutely flown by. So, baseball introduced time limit between pitches to stop it being so boring. Football has massively increased games per season. Club World Cup, they're all pushing for more until it fails. Yeah, they all want substance, don't they? So. Honestly, you could change them to shades of grey, and I reckon it would look fine. Maybe. Those colours are good because you can see the sectors now, which is more interesting. I could use the West Ham colours, yeah. Make the white yellow so it looks like the sector deltas. I don't know. I don't want to use the colours that flags are. So I don't want to use red. I don't want to use yellow. I don't want to use orange because of safety car. I know I can alter all of these things, but I didn't want that, basically. So, would be even better if the colour could match the map colour. We just bring in NASCAR stages to keep the children engaged, yeah. If you go KMH, if you go to accessibility, so you might have to update false updates. I don't know if you've updated multi-viewer yet or if it's forced you to do an update. But if you go to settings and then accessibility, there will be color customization there. So one thing got so in lifetime, will those colors change when there's a crash or somebody goes off lifetime? And exactly that, yeah. So I wanted colors that aren't going to show up on the track map, basically. So if there is a yellow sector, as we know, there will be a yellow sector. So. Yeah, the only problem with the DRS zones is that it then becomes a bit too messy. Sometimes less is more, especially with what you've got with the timing screens. I mean, look, you can see where you can have the DRS zones on here, but it just becomes too messy and too much, in my opinion. If I could make these DRS zones smaller and that, I would. At the moment, it's not an option. We will have the DRS detection zones when the race is on, because that's when you want to know when cars are within 1 second of another, heading up to those certain points. That's also very good for myself, because I also don't sometimes know where the DRS detection zones are. But yeah, we won't have that on for right now because we don't need it in the practice sessions or even qualifying. We just need it for the race on Sunday. So the shirt is on every single session this weekend, guys. Make the sectors very pale pastel. Yeah, I can do that. I can do that. Let's have a look. So let's go. There we go. And then, how's that? Is that a bit better? Can you discern that a bit more? Or is the green a little bit, needs to be a little bit darker maybe? Is that all right? I don't want it to be too sharp on the eyes, you know. What do I think about opening F1 cards, Ravage? Do you know what? Actually, I've been really intrigued by the card scene on my TikTok recently. My TikTok is flooded with the card scene of opening sports cards and stuff. But yeah, I don't know. The F1 cards, the attack cards, I don't know. They just seem a bit like... I don't know. They just don't seem... don't catch my eye, to be honest with you, from what I've seen from other sports cards. But it is, yeah, it's something I'd like to do, but it's just money, isn't it? But I remember collecting Pokemon cards when I was younger, and I still wish that I had my binder, but my mum threw it out like many things when I was younger. So who knows? Could have been sitting on a fortune, but not anymore. Who do I think is going to win Monza, Chin Mei? Ooh, Max Verstappen. Yeah, I said it. I think Max could get in the way of the McLarens here this weekend. I think Max could get in the way. So, Topps finest cards F1 is great number to patch autos. Yeah, it's just finding them though, isn't it? And getting them. That's the problem. But yeah, the attack stuff. Oh, it's a red flag. There's a red flag, and why do we have a red flag here? Why do we have a red flag, ladies and gentlemen? Not entirely sure why this is. Is there something out on track? No one has crashed, it seems. Is there too much gravel out on track at the moment? We did have a yellow in Sector 7 a while ago for Paul Aaron, but I'm still yet to see exactly. No, car is off. Everyone's moving okay, unless something has flown onto the track. Is there a piece of debris out on track at the moment? We're not entirely sure. Waiting for confirmation. Charles Leclerc is befuddled, and it's because of the gravel. There is a significant amount of gravel through. Is that the Ascari chicane? I think it is. Yes, through the Ascari chicane. Someone has had a slight off there. They've had an excursion by the looks of it, and they have thrown a considerable amount of gravel, and it's Kimi Antonelli. Kimi Antonelli. No, sorry, it's through the Lesmo? No. It is Kimi Antonelli. So Kimi Antonelli through Ascari, and to be fair, it's the smallest amount of touches. Like he's got not even half a wheel through Ascari, and there's so much gravel out on track. Lando Norris had a moment through the second Lesmo as well. So the gravel is causing a bit of carnage at the moment, and a lack of grip out on track. But yes, they're just throwing a red flag to try and sweep away all that gravel. So gravel's great for track limits, but it does get in the way of these practice sessions as we have just over 20 minutes remaining. The colours are confusing, please. Yeah, so this is the only problem, isn't it? Is that when this sort of stuff happens, is that I can't... Like, if you remove the colours now, now it looks better. So, I don't know. I feel like just cleaner is... Less is more, to an extent. That's just my personal opinion. And I feel like having just... As it was before, that's it. And then we'll add the DRS detection zones for the race on Sunday. So, you know what they say? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But I'm always willing to listen to feedback, guys, and improve the experience for you all. Kimi is just winding up the Italians now for the memes, yeah. And Charles was on Charles just did a purple first sector. So should we have a look at sector times as drivers were on push laps? So here are the sector times at the moment, and you can see Charles Leclerc was fastest in that first sector. Norris 7th fastest at the moment, 2 tenths back. Sector 2, Verstappen, as he does have the fastest time at the moment. But interestingly, Verstappen wasn't fastest through sector 1. So yeah, Alex Dunn. What I'm intrigued to see, and this is what's going to be important, is the speeds. Now, the speed trap is down the start-finish straight at the end of the start-finish straight. And, well, we can see here that when we look at the top speeds, which is at the end of the start-finish straight, Norris is in the top 10. He's only 5 kilometres down on Alonso. He's only 2 kilometres down on the Ferrari. And, well, he's got a same speed. He's got the same speed as Verstappen. Now that's intriguing because McLaren normally are one of the slowest in the speed traps. They run more wing, they're more efficient. Oh, Leclerc, red flag infringement noted. What? Did he not slow down sufficiently? Did he not slow down sufficiently? Could we see a 10 place? Oh no, imagine Oh my God, are the stewards really going to do it? Are the stewards going to do that? Could we see both Ferraris have grid place penalties for Monza? He overtook the Sauber in the second chicane. I mean, Ollie Behrman got it in Monaco. He did the same thing and he got a 10-place grid penalty for it. They deemed that he should have had ample time to sufficiently stop. That's going to be a tough one to fight. Personally, if Yuki in Canada, Yuki's was even more egregious, to be honest with you, and more like no common sense at all with Yuki's, because whoever it was had crashed and was going significantly slow. Oh my God, I think Charles is getting a 10-place grid penalty here. I need to see a replay of how much time he had to slow down. Now, of course, as you're heading round into the second chicane, you are travelling at significant speed. So it's whether or not they ascertained that by the time the red flag came out and the distance between him and the car ahead, he had sufficient time to slow down. We have seen Carlos Sainz, I think it was, get away with a penalty or not be penalised because of the same reason. He was too close to the car ahead when the red flag was thrown, so he overtook, but there was no way in a safe manner that he was going to be able to slow down and stop behind that car. So we will see. We will see on a replay. Oh, hang on, here's a replay. As Charles is stating on the radio, that was a tricky situation. I don't know what to do. I broke as hard as possible when I saw the red flag, but it wasn't enough to stay behind the Sauber. So I didn't see the replay of it. So if you're trusting Charles Leclerc's words there, as it was actually Isaac Hadjar, by the looks of it, who went off through the Ascari chicane, which is why there was loads of gravel out on track. So I think he'll get away with it. I think he'll get away with it now, by the looks of it. So there wasn't enough time, Andy. Yeah. So it's noted, though. It's noted, but yeah, the stewards sometimes see common sense, but they can also see the data as well as to how hard he broke and the closing speed and everything with that Sauber. So session will resume 13 minutes past the hour. So that is, what time is that now? That is literally less than a minute. So Alex Brundle saying that he actually did overtake him while the flags were displayed. It will be close. Ooh. Hey, I'm watching the replay now. Oh, I think he'll get away with that. I've just seen the replay. He'll get away with that. When he is approaching the second chicane, he comes around the corner, around the bend of Curva Grande, which is turn 3, and he is on full throttle when the red flag comes out. So, and then as soon as the red flag is shown, you can't miss it on the boards. As soon as the red flag is shown, he slams on the brakes. But the speed that he's travelling at and how slow and offline the Stake F1 car was, there's no way, even in an F1 car, you're going to be able to stop before that. So I think that's no penalty. Yeah, that would be... If the stewards give that as a penalty, I do think that would be super, super harsh. Super harsh. It's braked. He braked, Murray. Thank you for correcting my grammar. Oh my God, who was dawdling there? Was that Sainz or Albon? It looks like Albon was dawdling on the racing line out of the last corner as well, as we have FP2 back underway. As Pierre Gasly is saying, that's the second time Williams have done that to me. We need to maybe we should have a chat with their pit wall. No further investigation between Charles Leclerc. Yeah, I think that's the right decision. Anyone who's even done sim racing in an open wheel car, Super Formula or F1, when you're going round that corner and you're approaching the second chicane and you're on full throttle, try and slow that car down before you're getting to that chicane. Like it is tricky. So, let alone, I mean, the chicane you'll be able to stop the car in ample time, but it's more so the car that was on his outside. So, but they've got rid of that pretty quickly. They can make quick decisions now, can't they? The stewards. That's probably because it's the completely different stewarding team compared to what happened at Zandvoort. If that was Lewis Hamilton, he'd be getting a penalty for Azerbaijan in a couple of weeks. It's not a cursed shirt. We proved last time out that I didn't wear the shirt at Zandvoort at all, and they still had issues. So it's not the shirt's problem. So, hey Rob, good to see you. There was a red flag. There was a temporary red flag, not for anyone crashing off. It was just because there was significant gravel on circuit, particularly out of turn 7, the second Lesmo, and through the Ascari chicane. So they've just swept that away, and that's probably going to be a theme throughout the course of this weekend. So going to easily make 55k subscribers. Yeah, we're not far away from 55k. So big thank you to everyone who has subscribed over this season. And you know what? Just in general, if you've been an OG, if you've been subscribed for one day, or if you've been subscribed for 5 years, which is how long I've been doing YouTube for. 5 years? I think 5 years. 5-6 years. Big thank you, as always. The community is growing here. We've got sim racing fans, F1 fans, but ultimately racing fans, and that's what's brought us all together. So yeah, big thank you for sticking around, and if you have yet to hit that subscribe button and you're a long time viewer, please do, and yeah, we'll be here for every session this weekend. Weather forecast for this weekend, Jam, it is dry, bone dry. But they've just had quite severe thunderstorms in the past week. So, yeah, if the race was held the weekend before, we would be having a very different Italian Grand Prix. But thank you for the subs, guys, by the way. Much appreciated. I can't thank every single one of you, of course. Sometimes, if you've got your subscriptions set to private as well on YouTube, it won't show up. And, of course, if you're watching on Twitch as well, big thank you there. Paul Kimmy got blamed for gravel when was Hadjar. We'll see gravel on track. He did throw a little bit on track through the Lesmo. It was his fault that there was gravel on track, but everyone's having issues through turn 7. So yeah, it may be. We've got a south wind at the moment, which means it is a tailwind into turn 7. As Charles Leclerc is going purple in the first sector. Let's see how he fares through the middle sector, shall we? As he makes his way into Scarish Kane. Oh, he's not quite fastest in the second sector. That second sector time is... Oh, you're talking 0.06 of a second behind Max Verstappen at the moment. As he makes his way through Parabolica out of the last corner. And what can Charles go to the top of the timing screens again on a set of U-softs? He can indeed, a 20.2. Not bad, Charles, not bad. And we are just under a second from pole position of last year. My pleasure, Dan. My pleasure. Can't do well regardless of the shirt. But we have a very busy circuit out there. Every car is out there on circuit at the moment. Not a single car in the pit lane. Alex Albon is on the medium compound tyres. Alex Dunn, yes, if you're just tuning in, Alex Dunn is in the McLaren instead of Oscar Piastri, the F2 driver who has participated in a session before at the Red Bull Ring in Lando Norris's car. We also have Paul Aaron, who has had a spin as well, who is in Colapinto's car in P19. As I'm watching a replay of Kimi Antonelli. Big lock-up from Kimi Antonelli down into turn 1. Oof. Massive lock-up for the right rear. So, of course, he's trying to find the limits of that Mercedes. He needs a good performance here this weekend. Crashed out. Charles Leclerc, who is top of the screens right now, as Hamilton moves up into P3, but only for nearly just half a second back from Charles Leclerc, last year's winner. He needs a good performance, Antonelli, of course, for his own sake. And last year he crashed out, didn't he? He made his first appearance in FP1 and he only lasted 1.5 laps before binning it in Parabolica. So, yeah, still finding the limits of that Mercedes here and needs a decent qualifying, down in 15th at the moment. But we know FP1 isn't necessarily the true representative session. The proper session is FP2, which is this afternoon. What are my podium drivers this weekend? I think Max might cause issues here this weekend for the Ferraris. I mean, for the Ferraris, for the McLarens. I'm hoping that for once, for first time in a long time, we actually see Max or Leclerc or the Ferraris, whoever it may be, get in the way of the McLarens and just spice things up a bit. Wishful thinking, of course, but I think if there's one track that's going to happen, it could be here because of the low downforce nature of the setups required for this circuit. You can still run more wing, of course, and gain important speed through the corners, which is what McLaren might bank on. McLaren might take this. This is what I'm thinking with McLaren, is that they might take the strategy of, we know we can lock out the front row and we know we're good in clean air. If we can lock out the front row, then we can drive off potentially into the distance and control the race. But that will leave them susceptible to being overtaken at the start of the race, in particular if they're running more downforce, because the top speeds that the other teams are going to see, especially with DRS activated after one lap, you expect Max, you expect Charles to be able to stay at a track like Monza over a single lap. When DRS is then activated, you'd expect them to be able to stay within the DRS of the McLarens for a good couple of laps at the start of the race and overtake them, which could make things interesting. So yeah, I'm intrigued to see how the McLaren set up for this weekend. They're definitely going to trim some downforce off the car, but probably not as much as what Ferrari and Mercedes and Red Bull are going to do. Andrew, you just watched a video with why Antonelli was struggling so much. Mercedes were trying out an anti-lift geometry with their rear wishbones to keep the ground effect of these cars at the spot. Yeah, I have no idea, really. I personally don't think Antonelli has had... I mean, some people are very critical of his season, but especially Jacques Villeneuve. I don't know what he's got. Maybe Kimi Antonelli spat in his coffee one day or something, because Jacques Villeneuve really has a bee in his bonnet for Kimi Antonelli. Some of the comments he's made is ridiculous. But I think, yes, he's had rookie moments, but I think for the most part, I did a whole video on this before Hungary when people were laying into him. And you have to look at the full context behind some of the poor performances of Kimi Antonelli. He's had DNFs that have been outside of his control. Yes, he crashed at Red Bull Ring and he crashed at Zandvoort. Those were in his control. Those were rookie mistakes. But for the most part, I think he's had a very solid season. No one expected him to compare to George Russell, really, considering how well George Russell is and how long he's been in F1 for, the age he is as well, the experience. And I think he's just... I mean, he's in a top team, of course. There's going to be more scrutiny on him than there is teams lower down. But, yeah, he has admitted himself he needs to improve on qualifying. But I think overall Mercedes will actually be happy with Kimi's performances this year, and that there will be progression made for him. So, thank you, Chinmay, much appreciated. I think Jack was just saying literally, yeah, he said about removing wing mirrors or something, didn't he? Like, I feel like he very much wants to get a soundbite. That's his MO. Some things I agree with, but then sometimes I'm like, you're just you're getting the wrong end of the stick here, and you're just trying to rage bait. His overtaking needs work. Yes, his overtaking does need work. I mean, I'm surprised, to be honest with you, that Kimi thought about going for that move down into turn 3. He's done plenty, even iRacing. Like, he's done plenty of races in iRacing to know that the inside of turn 3 doesn't work. It doesn't work in the virtual world, and it's not going to work in the real world. And I get he was trying to capitalise on having tyres that were up to temperature, but he could have still waited and for that middle sector to lunge it on the inside of Charles, where he would have that extra grip, because Charles's tyres aren't going to come up to temp in half a lap, especially the corners that they're going round into that middle sector. It would have taken a full lap for Charles to get those softs up to speed. So, yeah, it was very poor decision making from Kimi, but as long as he learns from it, and I think the pace that he showed, Mercedes will be happy. So they'd rather him go for it and learn from his mistakes than not, I guess. But in that instance, I do think that was a corner that was impossible to overtake. Everyone knows that, so didn't take long, did it? I mean, because of that setup, Antonelli was less confident in the stability of the car's rear, so it may have affected some of it. Yeah, but even then, Andy, I think even when Kimi has had DNFs, you look where he has been. He has still been comfortably like in the points, and he was going to be scoring points and stuff. So he could be closer to Lewis in the championship right now and further away from Albon. So keep an eye on Paul Aaron. He's got the potential. He's also the younger brother of the Mercedes AMG GT factory driver, Ralph. Nice. Yeah, I mean, look, Paul Aaron, there's plenty of talented F2 drivers out there. It's just whether or not a lot of it's timing and, of course, financial backing, unfortunately, is very influential into whether or not you get an F1 seat, guys. I know we don't live in a perfect world, unfortunately, as Lewis has just gone fastest in the middle sector, by the way. Lewis could be going to the top of the timing screens here at the end of FP1. Oh my God. Could it be a 1-2 in FP1 for Ferrari? It is Lewis Hamilton at 20.1. Not particularly still quick times overall, but Ferrari just going, Tifosi, we see you. We are here. A 1-2 in FP1 as it stands. Still 4.5 minutes remaining, but Norris is on mediums now. Verstappen's on mediums. That is it. No one else. It's a glory run for Ferrari. Forza Ferrari. Forza Ferrari. That's a pure glory run right there, by the way, guys. Do not look too much into it. They just want to top the timing screens. They want to give some positive vibes to the fans out there. So, yeah, that is a typical glory run. But it's still a little bit of a confidence booster for Ferrari, knowing that they've topped the timing screens here in FP1. So, they're showing off, yeah. Do I mean it's staged? No, it's not staged. Connor, Lewis's initial laps were on lower engine mode, and he had a bad turn 11. There we go. So yeah, it's there's going to be some shenanigans played, of course, with engine modes and so forth in the practice sessions. We're not going to see proper pace. Oh, George Russell failing to use the escape road, black and white flag. Where was this then? I'm watching an onboard of George. What did he do? Oh, that's at turn 2. So he didn't go round the cone, but he was well off the mark though. He's still well out of the way. So yeah, there's designated areas where they have to go round a designated cone, as you see at certain circuits. And turn 2 is one where that is. And I think Hadjar got the same black and white flag earlier, and George Russell has just received the same. I don't expect McLaren to dominate this one. No, I agree. I think if there's one circuit is going to happen, it's going to be here. And the reason for that is because I think if you look at the... Connor, you'll be able to inform me of this as we approach the last couple of minutes of this session. I think the last track that we've been to where really a more lower downforce setup was required was Monza. Monza. We are at Monza. Sorry. Montreal. They begin with MO. Montreal. And because there's only like chicanes there, you don't really need a lot of downforce at that circuit. And McLaren weren't all dominant there. I mean, Piastri and Lando were fighting for P4 at that time when they crashed. So I think that could be something similar here again from what we saw earlier on. But there has been progression, of course, in the development of McLaren in particular since that race. And we see how well they've been performing. So we saw it in times gone by with Red Bull. They could run more rear wing compared to their competitors at this circuit because they had such an advantage over the rest of the field. And McLaren will probably be taking that approach here this weekend as well. Last year's pole was a 1:19.3. Sector times, I'll show you sector times at the end, Minty. We've only just got 1.5 minutes remaining, and I'll show you the sector times. No new engine for Lando. No. So I think they saved the engine. I think they managed to save the engine for Lando. Even then, I think what they've done is they've swapped. I swear I read somewhere or heard somewhere that they've swapped engines, Norris and Piastri. So I don't think they're using the same engine as at Zandvoort, both of them, but it's still within their allocation. It's the Ferrari. It's the shirt, guys. P1 and P2 and FP. We know, end of the day, everyone knows that FP1 is where it matters. That's where you win the race. So, Ferrari 4 tenths up on the next fastest car in the straights. Are they really? They've turned their engines up, haven't they? Connor, they've turned the engine up. They've gone, let's go. It's a yellow flag as George Russell is off. George Russell is off through turn 4 and 5 here at the end of the session here. A yellow flag, and there's a virtual safety car. What has happened to George Russell? Has he gone into a spin? Is he able to get going again? Or has he had an actual... Oh, George Russell has got a mechanical failure. So George Russell, I think his engine's just shut down. He's pulled over to the left-hand side of the entry of the second chicane, and I think, yes, his dash is off. He's got no dash. The engine's just cut out for Mercedes. Oh, I've lost power, George Russell reports on the radio as his dash does come back on as I'm watching it, but he's still stuck there out on track, and that has brought an end to this session. But another Mercedes engine. Another Mercedes engine. Oh, dear. Oh, dear. Just to wrap the session up there, yeah. Fastest in the straights per F1 TV. Charles, Lewis, Alex, Carlos, and Kimi. Yeah, we'll have a look quickly at the sector times, but your eyes are not deceiving you guys if you're just tuning in. Yes, Ferrari stop the count. P1 and P2. And former Ferrari driver, Carlos Sainz, arguably the 3 most recent Ferrari drivers, top FP1. Oi, oi. How about that, guys? How about that? Max Verstappen in P4, Kimi Antonelli P5, Norris 6th, Albon 7th. George Russell there, who's just had a mechanical issue. The engine switching off, surprisingly, at the end of the session there, is in P8. Fernando Alonso P9, Hadjar 10th, Bortoletto 11th, Hulkenberg 12th, Lawson 13th, Tsunoda 14th, Stroll 15th. Dunn, who was stepping in for Oscar Piastri in FP1, he'll be back in FP2, is in 16th. Ocon 17th, Gasly 18th, Behrman 19th, and Paul Aaron, who was in place of Colapinto, finished in 20th. Piastri will be back in FP2, guys. He had to let the rookie in. But Lewis Hamilton tops the timing screens at his first ever race in a Ferrari at Monza. Of course, he has that 5-place grid penalty, but you can see there the sector times. Lewis Hamilton first, second, the top 2 are Leclerc and Hamilton there. Verstappen splits the 2 Ferraris in the second sector. Very close between them all, though. And then the last sector belongs to Lewis Hamilton. Norris down here, 7th. 10th and 9th. But if we look at the speed traps, well, we can see in particular that, interestingly, Lewis Hamilton was still down, heading down into the first corner. Only 343 kilometers an hour compared to that of Fernando Alonso, who did 349, or even his teammate, who was 3 kilometers an hour quicker through the first, into the speed trap, which is down the start-finish straight here. So, yeah. They still probably turn the engine up, though, no doubt, as we can see that Alex Dunn was very slow there. And Lando Norris, 8th, 11th, 8th, 9th in relation to speed there in those zones. So probably running more fuel or just got the engine turned down. It's a track, of course, where they will be hitting the rev limiter at certain areas, especially when it comes to qualifying. So, yeah, they don't want to put a lot of stress on the engine, as we just saw George Russell's engine cut out as well as we are heading into the latter stages of this season. More than halfway through the season, and teams need to be careful about the stress that they put on their engines. So, yeah, that is it for FP1, guys. They 100% turned the engine up for the Ferraris. Lewis Engineers comment confirms it. Yeah, there you go. I mean, they had to... It's a glory run, Connor. We've seen it from many teams before. And why not? Why not? Why not give the fans something to cheer about? Because they may not get something to cheer about come Sunday or even tomorrow afternoon. So, yes, don't blame them whatsoever. And give Hamilton, as well, a well-needed boost. Give Lewis Hamilton a well-needed boost, considering he knows he's got a 5-place grid penalty for the race on Sunday. And, well, Charles Leclerc, very fortunate in the end that that red flag, if he was that timing of that red flag, he could have very well got a grid penalty himself, but the stewards deemed that he didn't have ample opportunity to stop that car in time. So there we go, guys. But yes, that is it for FP1, guys. I have to go back to work. That is the end of my lunch break, and I will see you later on for FP2. So turn your notifications on. We'll be back in a good few hours' time. I'm going to end the stream. It's going to send you straight over there. As always, hit that like and subscribe button. Turn those notifications on, and we will see you in a good few hours. But FP1 done and dusted. Ferrari at the top. Confirmation, it's not the shirt. We'll see you soon.